I even did a video praising the ever-loving hell out of this revolutionary RPG, and looking back on it now, my overall thoughts have changed dramatically.
So you're retarded then?
Back then, I think I largely exaggerated the game's strengths and vastly minimized any and all flaws. Hence why I changed the title to I no longer agree with this video.
So you're really retarded. Some might think that that is nothing more than petty name-calling, but no, that is a point about a complete lack of logic going into anything. So if you can't tell by now, I have unsubscribed from haedox, and that's because after digging through more of his videos, the stupidity discussed within my previous video on him was shallow, and the not actually communicating with any depth, similar to just about every other YouTuber, was easily noticeable. Now him being dumber than a bag of bricks is upsetting, but I find the humor he puts into his videos, while ironic, offsets it to the point where I can overlook it. But stupid can be insightful. Dumb can attempt to hold a meaningful conversation. Dumb can at the very least be some form of trying. What I can't handle is nothing. Meaningless garbage that is exponentially shallow. What I'm trying to say is just say something. Anything. Being wrong is better than being generic. Jim Sterling made a very clever joke with his 100% objective view making fun of a faulty perspective, but plenty of people talk like that, and this video is no exception. Say something, you piece of shit! This isn't help with him constantly repeating the same things over and over again. What is the thesis for this video? I am a stupid human being who lets people do the thinking for me. I'm joking. It's despite my efforts to correct my mistakes, I am proving to not have an original thought in my head and doubling down on being a mindless sheep by repeating what many others have said in the vain hopes of not looking like a dumb bitch. Now you might be commenting, he has to say something. The video is over 16 minutes long. Well, you're wrong. Of course he is literally saying something, but it's either so generic that it is the intellectual equivalent of a rice cracker, or it's profoundly stupid. Let's take a look. The first 2 minutes consist of him talking about letting hype culture get the best of him, which you have to be fucking kidding me. You are not 7 years old, haedox. Why the fuck are you allowing what other people think about a video game color your opinion about said video game? Then he says Undertale has fanboys and haters. Then he says Rule 34 exists, and he disapproves for some reason which goes unstated. He then spends the next 4 minutes saying fans are obnoxious and haters are bigoted. He then starts the review at the 7-minute mark, which commenting on that would just be retreading old ground, so skipping to...
A story about a father and mother losing their child, while cliche, is something you can get emotionally invested into.
Why did you say the story of Undertale was about parents losing a child? You even point out why that is wrong by correctly identifying it as a plot point in the next few seconds. How do you fuck that up? Oh, by falsely and unintelligibly attempting to classify Undertale's unconventional narrative as something else. Your grasp on this game's narrative is very weak given how exceptionally simple it is. This is only overshadowed by him critiquing it by saying there could have been more in the game, which is just rogueport all over again. More is not better, and it is not a valid criticism because there is no information to be retrieved from it. But Josh, he does get more specific. Sure, by saying that there needs to be more of a specific thing. More dialogue between characters, more set pieces with the characters. Again, this is a very lackluster evaluation for a game, and potentially incorrect as well.
Think of it this way. Remove the killer tune, and what is this section? A boring stroll with exposition thrown in by a flower.
Outside of your subjective evaluation of boring, an evaluation that should hold very little weight for many reasons, yeah. If you remove music from anything, it is still that thing, just without the music. This is how words work, and the rules of language are making you look retarded. Stop being pretentious and just explain why you think it's boring. At the 10-minute mark, he stops reviewing the game to talk about what people think of the game for 6 minutes, which, when you think about it, yes, a 3-minute review of a game is going to be shallow.
The story still holds up a year later, even if it isn't as awe-inspiring as I once said.
Hey, haedox just learned that novel concepts stop being novel after it's been presented several times. He's so fucking stupid, it's funny. He actually just said the game is not as good as he once thought it was after playing it several times over. I can't believe what I just said.
Gameplay, likewise, is very distinct. Instead of employing a classic turn-based RPG combat style, the developer chose to do something never seen before. Use of a bullet hell system. Yeah.
I know you're not a professional yet, but you're old enough to have been forced to write a paper. cite your sources. I'm not going to spend hours attempting to fact check you because you are too lazy to cite your sources yourself, when calling you lazy and wrong is faster and probably correct. If you are attempting to bring up the notion that bullet hells in an RPG are not new, then explain your position. One snide remark is not enough to fully understand the position you are bringing up, and if you are still very wrong and fucking stupid for not knowing what the word originality means.
Progression is very linear, which isn't always bad, but the overworld feels unnecessarily empty and boring. Locations are interesting to visit through on your first go, but by the second time, I found myself just walking in a straight path to the end.
Yes, linear games are indeed linear, and they often lack replay value. That is a very well understood concept that has been on the books for decades. Are you just learning this for the first time, or are you padding out this video? Because I'm not sure which is worse.
Nevertheless, upon judging the soundtrack critically by looking at the instrumentation and melodies without going too deep into music theory...
No. I'd rather rate myself than believe you even know the most rudimentary things about music theory. Why is the video titled The Overexposure Effect? He only directly talks about this for less than 2 minutes, so I'm not sure what the thought process is for the title. The vast majority of the video is directed at fanboys being overzealous. So why is the video not titled Undertale a Year Later, or if the subtitle is needed, then why not be The Bandwagon Effect or something about fandoms, since you actually comment on those things in the video? And I know it's probably new people getting overexposed to it, and that forces them away, but again, that was only discussed for a few minutes at most. The thing that I find the most interesting about the title is how on point it is, just not for the purpose he intended. A few different times he directly alludes to the fact that the quality of the game had diminished for him because of repeated use. Now, he doesn't point this out or even understand that that is actually the reason for the change in opinion. This should be apparent to anyone, but when you play a game 6 times, you play a game 6 times. Nearly all of his complaints are made invalid because of his actions. Of course you don't need to explore the towns or talk to NPCs in a linear game because after several times you have it memorized. When you overexpose yourself to a thing, you're going to want more of it out of repetition. This would be similar to me complaining about Berserk's story not changing because I've read it 5 times already. No one is asking me to reread that series, and just because I have most of it memorized doesn't mean I'm going to hold that against the series. But Josh, he said he liked it. I don't care that he liked it or didn't like it. The only thing I give a shit about is the evaluation, and it is profoundly bad. Again, this is the kind of person that doesn't fact-check anything, allows others to sway his opinion in very stupid ways, and the most disconcerting is he is either unwilling or unable to do a second draft of the script in order to preserve any amount of quality he might have put into it. The ultimate problem is that haedox is bog standard for the average YouTuber. Now, before you get your panties into a bind, I do not mean stylistically or comedically, but intellectually. We will be getting into this in the later videos, but so many people think and process information in very similar manners, and it's normally vague or incorrect. I mean, I get it. The average human is pretty stupid, but the average human doesn't need to actually formulate an opinion in several different forms in order to present that opinion to other people. You'd think over the years people would get better, but that's more likely not happening. Whatever, let's move on to the next topic already.